Good evening and welcome to the Minions of the Zoo Saturday edition. We're all incredibly tired tonight edition. Technical Excellence edition. Are there any other editions that we've got tonight, Sora?
Drowning due to atmospheric weather condition.
Oh, that's right. You've got an atmospheric river.
Yes.
Yeah, an early season atmospheric river for Sora Luna and SkepTok.
Yeah, everything's just dandy down here. It's this.
It's
just nice to be here.
Yeah. And DrFunctional.
What? I'm awake. I'm awake. I'm awake.
Did you ever get your airbrush situation fully resolved? Are you back to being productive?
Productive, no, but I did get a new airbrush. Yes, on the recommendations of a few people. There's a small company that sells pretty much all their gear on Amazon, which is nice. So I got a replacement. Haven't used it yet, but it looks solid. It feels good in the hand. I took it apart, put it back together. I like what I see. I'm just not airbrushing right now, so I'm doing other things, but like fairly soon I'll be testing it.
Yeah.
But I didn't need like I said the last time, I didn't need a Ferrari. I just needed a Honda Civic to get me where I'm going, and I think I got that, so I'm happy.
Yeah.
Very happy with it.
So I can't remember. Do you hate the Cybertruck? I mean, do you hate the looks of it? Just the aesthetics?
Yes.
Okay. This is this brutalist thing. I was driving down the road, and I saw one of those car carriers, and on the back of it were 5 Cybertrucks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
We see them down here all the time.
However you feel about one Cybertruck, it brings your opinion into clear focus when you have 5 of them.
Yeah.
Pointing in different directions, of course. You get to simultaneously see the beautiful front and the beautiful back of the thing. It is quite the thing.
There's no beautiful part of that. There's nothing good looking about that.
It's brutalist, and I don't care for it.
It's German.
If it cost, I mean, from a utility perspective, if it cost about half as much, I suppose I could consider it to be a luxury purchase, right? I'll just buy this douchey car that costs too much money. And it might actually be almost worth it for what it does for that. I would still hate the looks of it, but it's just too much money for what it is. That's the problem. In terms of what it can actually do. I sat through that whole...
It's an EV. That's another problem.
Well, I don't have a problem with EVs per se, as long as you don't try to use them for things they're not good at.
Like all the things that internal combustion engine cars are good at.
Having a lot of torque, not having to deal with oil changes. There's a whole lot of things that are actually good about EVs, but they don't outweigh the stupidity of the overall stupidity, I think.
Right.
But if all you're doing is driving around in a town and you've got like a little EV city car thing and you plug it in at night and then you drive to work and then you drive home and that's all you use it for, you're probably going to be pretty damn happy.
Get a motorbike, you'll be much happier. There's nothing like riding a motorcycle.
Well, Sora, you were
announcement.
You were going to say something, Sora. What was it?
No, you exactly made my point. It's great for cities. My issues when they're making all of these that are SUVs, right?
Yeah.
Where the idea is that you could go up a mountain, and this comes from me, and I like the Rivian, whatever.
Rivian, yeah.
Rivian style, and I do like it better than the Tesla for kind of more North American EV cars. But it is kind of stupid. The idea is we want to make carless city centers. So we use EVs instead. So the idea would be, wouldn't you want to make it just a smaller car so you can get more of them in, kind of idea, but that's not quite what's happening, or at least not what's being marketed to North America.
That's true. Part of the problem is that the okay, I'm about to veer off a little bit here. I'll try not to go too far. The what is it? The NTSB, National Traffic Safety Board, is populated by idiots. And I say that with all what little respect they deserve. They really are just not good at their jobs in a lot of ways. They have very strong opinions about things, and what those do is they prevent small cars. They despise any kind of small car. In Japan, they have a thriving culture where you can get personal cars and little work vans and things like, if you were playing your little cozy game and you were tooling around your property in your little truck with your little flatbed thing, it would be like that. But in real life, they have, for like $10,000, $12,000, you can get a car that seats 4 people and carries a bunch of stuff and drives like 100 miles. And awesome. But the NTSB doesn't want any of that shit in the United States. And so some people do import them, but they can't drive them on public roads. They can only just sort of drive them around their little farms. It's pretty sad. They just really, between the CAFE standards and the giant stick up the NTSB's ass, you can't do things like get a small truck. You try to find a small truck in the U.S. like we used to have when I was a kid. Remember those little Datsun trucks that people used to have, Skep?
Yep.
That would just get super good
Ford
mileage.
Frontier.
Yeah, and it would just carry stuff, right? And it was awesome. Those little trucks were fantastic. You couldn't tow like a big Airstream with it, but in terms of getting stuff done on a reasonable budget, those little, like I said, those little Japanese trucks, and you said the little tiny Ford back when they made it.
Yeah.
But the CAFE standards have made it so that they literally have to build bigger cars so that they get a bigger allowance for this. It's a complete mess.
That's really
All right, so I've sort of in a haphazard way said hello to everybody, but I haven't given everybody a chance to say anything. So, Functional, is there something you want to say before we get started?
No.
No. Okay. Sora, is there anything you would like to say before we get started?
just hello to everybody.
Hello to
Let's
everybody. Yes. Skep, is there anything you would like to say before we get started?
Get the fuck off my lawn.
Get the fuck off my lawn. Does Clint Eastwood just keep getting cooler with every passing year?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's some, I mean, it's one thing to see a movie with like a real young guy just setting the record straight, evening the scores, doing whatever, that kind of thing. It's another thing when you get a movie like Harry Brown, where you get like old Michael Caine just messing people up.
There was a bar in Monterey we used to go occasionally after a night at the old club. We'd head over to, I think it was called the Hog's Breath Inn.
Yeah.
We used to see Clint Eastwood there.
Well, he owned it.
Yeah, he did own it for a while.
Yeah, it was one of his properties. They had some problems with their health department inspections on a few occasions, but that's okay. The alcohol kills the germs. It's fine.
It was a great place to go and drink. You never knew who you'd see there. The other person I saw there was Paul Anka. Paul and his wife. They actually lived on the other side of La Mesa. So you know where La Mesa is up there in Monterey.
Mm-hmm.
The other side of the hill is the side that overlooks Carmel, and that's where the Ankas lived.
Yeah, there are a lot of places in Carmel that are just needlessly expensive, and they're mostly just for douchey, moneyed people that come from the north and the south. And it's intolerable dealing with those kinds of places. And then there's the places that the locals go. There's the places that the people who work at the places where the douche nozzles go after they get off work. And Hog's Breath was one of those places. Yeah. It was really a locals hangout more than a tourist thing. Fun
Very
place.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was introduced it by a guy who had worked at the PG school for 20 years. He said, "You're going to love this place."
Well, yeah. I mean, back in my days of being mature and little underage drinking, my favorite place to go was Khalees's. Which was essentially across the school, I was going to say, way from the aquarium, and and
that's down by it's like Cannery Row area.
Yeah, it's on my list for when I build my time machine. I'm definitely going back, and because there's nothing like that exists anymore. But we're the only two people that know what we're talking about now, so we should stop. I sold a motorcycle last week, and I've never sold a motorcycle before, and I'm just giving you the short version since you were out last week. The guy, I handed him a bill of sale that I put together, and the guy says, "I buy vehicles all the time, and there's never that much stuff on these things." And I said, "No, that's because I actually know how contracts work, and that's why Section 4 is there. That was the one that basically says you can't blame me for anything that happens. People getting hurt, property getting destroyed, because it was an as-is sale, as in give me money and go away." That kind of thing. Yeah, so that was fun.
Just the acknowledgement of as is usually enough to defeat any. As long as they acknowledge it's as is and it says that in the contract, you're smart to do that.
Well, he wanted even before I found the pink slip, because this was an unsolicited offer, and he wanted, it's fine. You don't need the pink slip to sell this to me. It's like, yeah, I do.
Yeah, actually do.
Yeah, I do.
Got the pink slip, Daddy.
Yeah, because the alternate way of doing it involves a lot of paperwork, and I don't want to. So.
What song is that from? I got the pink slip, Daddy. Pink slip, Daddy.
I don't know. I don't know. Can you?
It's the half a dozen reindeer with Rudy the lead. It's the Beach Boys Christmas song about the reindeer. Anyway,
okay. Would you do us the favor of greeting the people in chat, please?
Happy to do it. As soon as
you find the right bloody window.
I have too many tabs. I can't even find the right instance of the right browser. Fuck. Hang on. All right, here it is.
Never had to create contracts for my hustle, but I do ensure that there is a written record of all communications, by email, laying out exactly what's going to happen, whatever. But I do give bills of sale, like receipts.
Yeah,
it's easier for my own sanity to keep track of all the money coming and going.
Mm-hmm.
We have a bunch of people here tonight. Tyr Alexander is here. Mike R. Hello, guys. Green Badger is here. Welcome. And Jack Unsky's here. Hi, Jack. How you doing, bud? Good to see everybody coming out. Costin's here, ready with fresh blame for me. Critical Thinkers Guild. We like to think of ourselves as critical thinkers. At least we're critical, if not thinkers. And so it's nice to have a kindred soul here along voyaging through conversational excellence here in chat. Anyway, that's the bunch of us. Welcome, everybody. And what's on the agenda, Harry?
Well, many things. I want to start with a encounter I had with one of my liberal friends. This is a very close friend of mine. Okay, so I had this encounter where what was presented to me was a video of Donald Trump. Now, he was at a how do I phrase this? He was at a rally, one of his 2.5-hour spoken word performances that he likes to do that are thinly disguised as a rally in Detroit. Yeah. And his mic cut out for about 20 minutes.
Yep.
And I didn't know any of that. I sort of saw some mention of it, and because I'd been busy as hell, right? And so my friend tells me, "Oh, I have this video where Donald Trump just starts aimlessly wandering around a stage talking to himself for 20 minutes for no reason." And it's really funny because it's all sped up and it's got yakety sax playing in the background. You know, I can hear that. So it's like super funny. Look at Trump just sort of wander around aimlessly while the Benny Hill chase music is playing in the background. I go, that's really great. But you probably shouldn't believe anything you hear about Donald Trump because 9 times out of 10, it's propaganda, a deliberate distortion. That's not true. That's what happens. He's losing it. I'm like, okay. I don't like arguing with my friends. I really do not enjoy it. But this sort of thing happened, and I just wanted to go, okay, so why are you believing what you're believing? I said, first of all, is this something that you heard about on Blue Sky? Now, Blue Sky is where a bunch of the people who thought free speech and Elon was just too offensive, so they left, and they made their own little thing that's like Twitter, but not Twitter. It's called Blue Sky. Yeah. So it's another social media thing that's free of all distractions like community fact checking and all that other stuff. You don't have to worry about that there.
It's a free speech place.
Yeah, it's a free speech thing for approved free speech. It's absolutely great. Now, again, let me emphasize, this is a good friend of mine, somebody that I actually like, somebody that I would probably take a bullet for. And it's annoying when I get into these conversations because I don't actually want to have them, first of all, and I don't want to I'm not going to try to change their mind. But I did think it was interesting that this was floating around, and it took me all of 10 seconds with a search engine to find out, oh, the reason he was doing that is because his mic cut out. That's all it was. His mic cut out, and he basically paced a little bit and talked to some of the people behind him while they fixed the mic for 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. But there's this narrative that's going on, the latest talking point that they're really pushing on MSNBC. Easy to find if you just do a search and look at the results that come back. It's all MSNBC claiming that he's losing his mental functions because as soon as Biden was pushed out of the way, now it's open season on making fun of old people.
This is right out of Rules for Radicals.
It's right out of Rules for Radicals.
Exactly. Saul Alinsky would be very happy with
that. And I just said, look, I did a check, and that's not what happened at all. The mic just kicked out, and he was basically just pacing while he was waiting for them to fix the mic. Mm-hmm. I just said, so there's no there to this story. I mean, it's just kind of funny, but they do this to him all the time. But I have to be careful about how much defensive Trump I do, right? Because, again, people I like, I don't want to fight with them about this stuff. But how many other people out there see this shit and just believe all of it? Believe all of this MSNBC bullshit. I mean, and the fact that Blue Sky is such a hug box, because Blue Sky is the source of almost all this shit that gets sent to me by my various liberal friends. Because this thing exists out there, and they have this altered reality, free of fact checking, of any real fact checking, where they just pass this sort of stuff around. And then the next thing came back is, oh, okay, fine, I accept that. But, what about Project 2025? It's like, okay, I don't want to have this conversation, but 2025 has nothing to do with Trump, not in any significant sort of way. Oh, yeah? It's like, that's how my day went earlier this week. I don't want to do that.
Sounds like someone was itching for a fight a little bit.
Well, this is somebody who's completely not political, who doesn't care about politics, but just picks this stuff up by osmosis and then wants to make a big deal out of it. And
votes anyway?
I mean, ultimately, the national debt is so freaking high. We're just choosing between like the least onerous one at this point. Ultimately, I'd rather have Rand Paul be president. I want somebody in there who will actually fix this goddamn deficit.
But Harry,
that's what I want. But what I'm going to get is I'm going to get the one that's not Kamala, hopefully. That's at that point I'm just hanging out for some hope of that.
Does this friend of yours vote though?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I had a similar interaction with a friend as well who lives in Portland.
Yeah.
And it came like I said, I don't have a problem if people are ignorant or choose not to vote, but I think the most dangerous combination of those are the people who are sure of themselves, don't stay politically
Literate.
informed or literate, yeah, and vote anyway. And he's like, yeah. And it came up because we were talking about the fact that he votes, and I was talking to him because he lives in Portland, and he's like, yeah, but all the stuff they say about here is a lie. And I'm like, so they weren't surrounding and trying to burn down a courthouse? Oh, well, yeah, that happened. I'm like, and Chaz wasn't a thing. Oh, yeah, well, that happened. But, and I'm like going down this list of so-called conspiracies, and I'm just, again, like you, Harry, I'm not there to change their mind. I'm just there to like basically confirm the own narrative in my own head, saying these people are insane and this is why. And sure enough, they prove me right every single time. And I get so upset because I've got no problem with my friends who are completely politically agnostic and choose not to vote. That's your right. I don't think it's a mandatory duty that you have to vote. But I think if you are going to vote, you have to be informed in some way. And these people just are not.
Yeah, but informed wouldn't do it, because you could easily spend hours more on Blue Sky and think that you're informed, when all you're really doing is ingesting a lot of propaganda.
I mean, they do that on Facebook and previous Twitter and like all these other platforms before, so I don't really see how it's any different.
It's because it's distilled. You know, it's like comparing Kettle One to Everclear. Okay, you know, it's
but
like
my point is,
you've
I don't
got
think
80
that's,
proof.
that's
You've got
being
80 proof
informed.
truth versus or 80 proof bullshit versus 180 proof bullshit.
Yeah.
It's because they've self-selected to just leave all of the unwashed Twitter people behind. I don't know. This is very much a me problem, and I know nobody's going to fix it. But I do really think that MSNBC is just really bad for democracy. I mean, I know I'm not saying anything novel here by saying that the news should have some sort of journalistic standards, but to just deliberately lie and distort the truth for political reasons is so unseemly for a news organization. This never would have happened when I was a kid. It just wouldn't. And Skep's seen it happen more than I have. Do you remember when Dan Rather was just a little bit to the left and people would sort of scoff at CBS? That was what we used to deal with. And then there was this huge chasm until you got to Mother Jones.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And the Overton window has shifted so far left, has become so accepting of even the most extreme notions of the left that's the frame of our discussion now.
Yeah.
And saying anything to the contrary of anything on the left is called sexist or racist. You know, there's some sort of moral tag, a bad negative moral tag that they attach to any contention you make with any of their points that come from the left. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of pro-Trump, but I'm not pro-Trump. Like, I can't really be pro somebody who uses tariffs as the linchpin to their policy. But I'm pro-Trump in the sense that he's not a neocon. He seems to want to get people out of wars instead of into them. That's a big win. That's
tariffs,
huge.
Yeah. Tariffs are just a tool that politicians use, and they don't realize that countries get addicted to it.
Yeah.
And what happens is it's not just the country gets addicted to it. Industries in the country get addicted to it. So the automotive industry adjusts its economics to the reality that it's going to be protected to the tune of 25% for Chinese car that comes in the United States. That's why they don't sell a bunch of cars over here. And so they adjusted that, and then so removing tariffs becomes very painful for that segment of American commerce. There's a lot of ways that can be prevented. But the best thing always is to follow Milton Friedman's advice.
In all things, actually.
Don't get addicted to tariffs.
Yeah.
Period. Don't start.
Yeah, it's a nasty habit. If you think biting your fingernails and quitting heroin are hard, tariffs, now there's where the real addiction is. So I'm going to move the program counter forward here.
Yeah, sorry. Didn't mean to go on.
No,
there.
you're fine. I want to do a couple follow-ups. So this is a thing that I didn't realize existed. I thought it should exist, and I almost thought somebody should invent this. Well, it turns out they do. You guys heard about Aquafence?
Yeah.
No.
I had never heard this before. It's actually a portable.
Aquafence?
It's a portable fence that can actually
Oh,
hold
no,
back
yes, this
huge
is that
amounts of
thing.
water.
It just stands up like a bookend.
Yeah.
And it links with others of its kind and can hold back like 3 feet of water. It's amazing.
Look at this Chad.
It's
this
rated
Chad
for very
fence.
high pressure.
Yeah.
I've seen this. It's astonishing.
Aquafence is proud to have contributed to Tampa General Hospital's flood preparedness this week as Hurricane Helene brought record-breaking storm surge to Tampa Bay. There's the dry side and there's the wet side. This is fantastic. It is really expensive though. It's like $1,000 a foot or something. I mean, it's really expensive. But
Yeah.
if you want your hospital not to be flooded, it's a temporary barrier that keeps the water back. I think this is fantastic.
If it's expensive like that, that means it's not
Very
being.
cool.
It means it's not being cast that way. It's being bent.
Yeah.
It's like the way a muffler
Mhm.
is bent. You know how that kind of machine works. What they'll do is they'll start casting it, and that the cost will go way, way, way down.
Okay, so I'm not. Oh well, wait, we can't do that. We have. There's a fun thing I want to do that I've been saving for your return. But before we do that, I need to follow up on the Waffle House Index because I last week, I think it was last week, we talked about it. Or was it the week before? And I didn't fully grasp all of the aspects of it, and so I think they may not have actually made it into the conversation that we had. So Waffle House. There was the idea that you can tell how bad a disaster is by how many Waffle Houses are closed or partially closed, or if they have a limited menu. What I didn't realize was that the Waffle House actually has its own like disaster preparedness team and center. They have like a disaster room where they deal with disasters. They have crews that they actually fly into areas where there are disasters so that the people who work there can take care of their families.
Oh,
They've actually engineered their business process so that they can do things off of gasoline generators and with limited supplies. They've actually done disaster preparedness, and they do yearly reviews of all Waffle House locations. That they have jump teams that go into areas where there are problems.
I love that so much.
They basically are like a better version of FEMA, but with waffles.
Yes, exactly. And
recreational fighting. I had no idea just how. I thought it was cool that they had this index talking about how many Waffle Houses are closed and to what degree, but I didn't realize how committed Waffle House is as an organization to staying open. I mean, they more than any business I've ever heard of, they fight to stay open.
Yeah, they absolutely do. It's always struck me as kind of the franchise with attitude, and it's it's a favorite gathering place of Friends of Bill, of Alcoholics Anonymous folks who retire there after the 10 o'clock meeting and have sit around and have coffee and basically continue the meeting or the social hour after the meeting. Have a lot of good memories of Waffle House.
Yep.
I'm very pro Waffle House. Just don't get any more pro Waffle House than I am.
The nearest Waffle House to me is in Arizona.
That's the pits.
Yeah.
That is a shame.
Yeah.
I have one 2 miles from my house.
Well,
I'm literally true. I was just over there this afternoon. I wasn't at the Waffle House, but I was at the gas station.
Forget the bomb shelter. I mean, just head for the Waffle House.
Hell yeah!
Any Waffle House people are listening? Can you expand into Canuckistan?
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
we like our coffee. We like our waffles. It'd be dumb not to.
Well, maybe Tim Hortons could just hire some Waffle House people and
Tim
they could
Hortons
do their own
is
thing.
Garbage now, though.
Well, they could be
Like,
not garbage.
What?
They could just try to be not garbage. I mean, it is possible, isn't it?
Not for Tim Hortons.
Oh,
Tim Hortons. I don't know.
I mean, it used to be fantastic, but then they got bought out by whatever the parent company of Wendy's is, and they went straight down the shitter. Big surprise. It used to be fantastic. The coffee, the donuts, like everything about it. It was
Apple
our
fritters
version of
are
Waffle
so
House
good.
because like Skep, when we had meetings or functions or whatever, and we'd throw these events afterwards in the wee hours of the morning as the sun is coming up, we'd all go to the sketchy Tim Hortons at the corner of whatever downtown street we were near, and we would have coffee and smoke cigarettes and just talk about life, the universe, anything that isn't work, anything that isn't related to what we just were doing for 18 hours. You know what I mean? Whether it was a huge kitchen thing or a movie thing or whatever the thing it was, it always seemed to be the commonality between all these industries. Everyone just always ended up at one of two places: Coffee Time or Tim Hortons.
Oh, you know what? That they merged with Burger King. That's what it was. They merged
Sorry,
with
not
Burger King,
Wendy's, Burger King, yeah.
and then the two chains then became subsidiaries of a holding company, but it's just a holding company, RBI.
That's stupid. That's like if Boeing bought out McDonnell Douglas, but then let all of the shitty McDonnell Douglas managers come in and ruin their culture. That would be insane, wouldn't it, Skep?
Yeah, that would be insane.
Yeah, don't do that. Quality might suffer. Doors might start falling off airplanes.
I was just
Yeah, let's get rid of all those engineers who were running a company and bring in some of those fresh, shiny McDonnell Douglas managers.
yeah, let's get
Son
some
of a bitch.
DEI folks in there.
Yeah,
DEI
just
engineers.
DEI.
Engineering sociology, but it's considered an engineering degree. So yes, I'm considered an engineer.
okay. Well, okay. It is your fault that we're not going to something fun now because I have to segue to.
Uh-oh.
No, it's just that what Skep said. We have to segue now. Let's see. It's
Skep is
under.
your scapegoat.
Scroll down under equality.
Segue,
Okay, here we go. Nashville study finds major disconnect between black girls and mathematics. Oh, I know. It's just so terrible. Black girls were far more likely than black boys to have a negative math identity and to not see how the subject connects with their future.
The fuck
Now,
does that mean?
I am not saying
Math identity.
I'm not saying that I don't want young black girls to think that mathematics is important. I am not saying that. What I am saying is that these kinds of changes happen all the time across lots of different groups. Okay. I actually did a little research here and I brought this up from a 2023 paper where they're looking at high school students' preferences and motivations for different STEM careers by group. Because nobody can say I didn't deliver. Okay, so most preferred, selected as most preferred. So you can see doctoral level healthcare careers, 41% of black girls, 34% of white girls. White boys, not very much. Black boys, 20%. So you can see where the preferences are, right? So computer programming science degrees. Black boys do not like any part of this. Engineering related careers, white boys didn't want to have anything to do with that. But there are huge discrepancies, right, between different groups. I'm just trying to point out that these kinds of things happen in lots of different topics.
Yeah.
So why is it that this is the focus of this article? And I think it's just sort of like, let's go picking through statistics and then try to make a point because everybody's hyper aware of race. It's
the bigotry of low expectations.
Well, it's the bigotry of low expectations, but it could be a lot of things. It could be that they just think for the kinds of careers that they're gravitating to, going back to this chart here, maybe they feel that mathematics is less important than it would be for some of the other things.
Think about why would a white boy
Mm-hmm.
be in more?
White boy.
Why would he be more interested in attacking and learning mathematics than a little black girl? Think about what mathematics is associated with science, advancement, and so forth. And if you look at the people we venerate, the people who have made most of those scientific advances tend to be, frankly, white males.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. Little kids fasten onto things. They fall in love with things when they're just developing the things that will become their career desire later on in life, the things that influence what they're make them interested in a particular vocation. those begin to form very early.
Yeah.
And the importance of getting them to be able to identify across a race and admire somebody across a race is anathema to the current racial climate, where everything is hyper racialized and we're tending back toward separate but equal.
Well, let's look at the data for a
We'll
moment.
do it right this
Hold on,
time.
functional.
Oh, we have the data. Okay.
Okay,
Good.
so here, look at the data. So, for instance, in the most preferred, Black girls, 41% prefer doctoral level healthcare careers. Okay, versus white boys, 8.5%. Nobody is criticizing Black girls for wanting to get advanced degrees in healthcare. Nobody's saying that's a bad thing, and nobody's saying why are the white boys underrepresented in this healthcare thing. You can tease these inequities throughout here, but what we're looking at is revealed preference. There may be all sorts of factors that go into why one group or another favors one thing over another. Right?
Yeah.
And I don't think we should make a huge deal out of it. Should these Black girls be reminded that, hey, even if you want to go into medicine, you probably really should at least learn how to do the math behind a titration. You really need to do some amount of math, maybe not advanced math, but you need to understand how this stuff works.
Well, listen, if you have a fourth grader who comes up to her, and she's a little Black girl, and comes up to her teacher and says, I've been thinking about what's the definition of a limit again?
Yeah.
Like you did, Harry.
Well, look at this.
If that ever happened, my point is that little Black girl would be rocketed into a special curriculum.
I think that children should be tortured with Zeno's paradox until they say uncle or figure it out. But so anyway, so look at welding, soldering, machine operator careers. This is in terms of most preferred, right? 1.8% of Black girls want to go into that that thing, right? Versus 7.3% of Black boys, 27% of white boys, and 10% of white girls. And these are good jobs. These are jobs that aren't going to be replaced by AI. These are really good jobs. And why aren't we making a big deal out of the fact that so few Black girls think that this is like a viable career option? They're just picking and choosing which things to be upset about. Yeah, functional, it's you. You have the talking stick.
Okay. Do you have any additional data? Or is this just it? Because somebody, I want to say Sean Fitzgerald, actual Justice Warrior, covered some of this.
Okay.
Might have been somebody else who does similar content. I've been looking for the video. I can't find it, so whatever. But they went over the amount of dollars spent per person on things like math education, science, STEM education, the different fields in STEM, and the amount of private and public dollars that are sunk in per person on average. And it turns out that for every person, it's like 1 out of 5 white males who get funded in things like mathematics, hard mathematics, go on to achieve, air quotes, greatness in that field. Juxtaposed with, and there was a whole bunch of data surrounding this, but I'm trying to sum it up for brevity's sake, that it turned out that it was something like, for the same amount of funding per person, 1 out of 10,000 of these Black girls, female Black women, girls, actually goes into the field and achieves greatness. Greatness being they thrive and succeed in their field. It doesn't mean they're the next Albert Einstein. It just means they get into the field, they thrive, and they have a career. And it was over the course of, I think, the last 20 years of all this public funding. And I'm scratching my head going, well, why are we funding things where, if you look at this data in front of our eyes right now, you're going, well, they don't want to be in there. So why are we funding it to a 5,000% increase over the people? And I like you guys, I don't even care about the demographic. I'm just saying, if it doesn't matter the skin color, the gender, whatever. If they want to be in the field, you should fund it. That's what scholarships used to be. Now it's like, oh, you're the right color, you're the right gender, whatever, then you get a scholarship kind of thing. And it's like, no.
Yeah. Well,
if Bobby, the white male, wants to be a a beautician, then Shaniqua wants to be a mathematician, I say fund them both. Let them both get into those fields and try to thrive. Not say to Shaniqua, no, you have to be a mathematician because that's what DEI says.
Well, Peggy, people are not groups. When you're talking about groups of people, we're talking about averages, right? And that if you see, I mean, Bayes' theorem aside, if you see, well, okay, Bayes' theorem not aside. Okay, let's not put Bayes' theorem aside. Suppose, you know, you get a bunch of, okay, no, don't do what you're about to do, Harry. Stop it. You can't really fix personal preference. If you look at Norway and a lot of other countries, the most equal societies anybody's ever built, women frequently gravitate toward healthcare. Men frequently gravitate toward arc welding. You know, there are just certain things where groups of people on average tend to have different proclivities, which doesn't say anything about an individual.
And by the way, that only happens for certain parts of, depending on the reason for the proclivity. That over time, those change. Those groups change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But we see it.
The proclivities migrate, I guess you would say, to other groups.
They can, yeah.
Yeah. They're an awful, I mean, I like the least preferred one. The least preferred one is really interesting.
Yeah.
What is it that black girls really don't want to do? Welding. Okay.
Machine operators.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is it that like white boys really don't want to do? Doctoral level healthcare careers. Oh wait, no, they actually, a bunch of white boys don't want to be electricians, but at the same time over here, so it's kind of a split right here
Black
between
girls
want
do
and
not
don't
want
want.
to be electricians.
Oh wait, no, that's engineering. That's engineering. Sorry, I'm being incompetent. No, the reason I went with this is because it's 2023 data, and because it puts a lot of information in a very few square inches.
Harry?
This is actually from this article, which STEM careers are most appealing, examining high school students' preferences and motivational beliefs for different STEM careers.
Oh yeah,
It's from the International Journal of STEM Education.
Okay, so
Emily K. Rosenzweig and Zhao Xin Chen, 2023. You know, it's hard to find information that is both fresh and relevant. There's a lot of stuff from further back, but I wanted to capture something that sort of had the current post-pandemic AI nonsense sort of stuff factored in.
And that publication is also not afraid to publish their results, regardless of what the woke mob or any sort of extremists say about their findings.
Well, nobody
they
should
call racist and ableist and all this shit all the time.
Well, nobody should have to apologize for wanting to have the career that they want to have. I do think, though, in reference to the original article, there's not a damn thing wrong with just saying, hey, by the way, even if you really want to go into this medical stuff, you really do need to know a little bit of math. It's probably good to remind them of that because you're going to be competing against a lot of other people that took their math more seriously when you go to university. Yeah. Oh, wait, the competition part, maybe in an ideal world, they'll be competing. Yeah, don't do them a disservice. Give them an opportunity. Give them all the information about all the possible careers so they can make good choices. But I think at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about people's proclivities. Like Functional said, you can throw money at it all day. It won't change anything. If somebody wants to become a doctor, if somebody wants to become a doctor, they're going to become a doctor.
But I think that you glossed over something that's really important that I didn't find when I was in school. So I wonder what it's like now, in that I wasn't informed as to what the options were. You know, I had to sort of do my own legwork, and as a teenage boy, like, fuck legwork. I want to play video games. I want to hang out with the boys. You know, I want to not worry about the future. When somebody, a counselor or something at school, should have been pulling us aside and saying, okay, so what do you think of the future? Like, I see that in American television and stuff, but we never really had it here. It's weird to me because I would have liked to have had that talk of, well, there's, you know, all these different ways. And even before I had to make that choice, even as a young lad, to be like, maybe you should think about, you know, do you want to concentrate on mathematics or science or drama or what have you, and allow someone who is knowledgeable and adult to sit down and say, okay, well, you like drama, so you can get into acting, you can get into behind the scenes filmmaking, you could become a stand-up comic. Like, go through all, like, a whole bunch of choices and try to suss out, okay, so now where in high school what electives do I want to take that will help me either realize that that's a goal for me or not, and help nurture that sort of proclivity to that field that individual wants to take. Because, as you know, I went through quite a bit of stuff. You know, started in construction, did a whole bunch of other stuff before I found my calling in the kitchen, and nobody sat me down and said, you know, in fact, little piece of personal information, my sister sat down with me and said, "You're going into cooking, but I don't see you being able to stand on your feet for 12 hours a day and in a hot kitchen." And you know what? When I took that to heart when I was a young kid and said, okay, well, maybe. But then in later life, sort of like what Skep was saying, I had that. I said, enough is enough. I'm getting out of office life. I need to just try it. Just try it. And I tried it and I loved it. It was the right kind of stress, the right kind of high intensity, fast-paced vocational environment that I needed. That same sort of vibe in a office setting, I would die. Construction, hell no. Construction has to be very calm, cool, and collected. You're working with big machines and big holes and
You'd be surprised how blasé people get doing construction. You have, I think you have a very idealistic picture of the way
buildings.
No, I'm talking the same thing you are. After a while, it becomes kind of more second nature. But the level of camaraderie that you have in a kitchen is probably only exceeded by like certain types of sports things or being with your band of brothers and getting shot at and trying to keep each other from getting killed.
Because in the kitchen itself, you're swearing, you're cussing people out, you're calling them whores, and
but it's way, but there's way more.
Things. But afterwards, when the chef whites come off, you're going and you're drinking beer and you're talking about, you know, the latest Twitter post or whatever.
No, there's a lot. I kind of miss the food service just because it was a completely different kind of working environment to tech. But I will say that tech back in the day was way more fun than it is now. In like the 80s and the 90s, in the 80s and no, it hasn't. In the 80s and 90s, frequently people would stop. You'd work really long days all week, but when Friday would roll around, about 4:30, people would knock off and they'd have like kegs of beer and mixers and parties and stuff. Oh God, just tech. The Valley was so much fun back in the 90s, and it was men and women and people were hooking up and there was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, a lot. I mean, it was a hell of a good time. It was really fantastic, and now it all sucks because the HR people have taken over. But that's a conversation for another time, and I'm talking fast and getting shrill.
You disagreed with me when I said it was like it wasn't dominated by men.
No. Actually, things were way more progressive even in the 90s. You know that movie.
But that's just the Valley, right?
Yeah, I'm just talking about the Valley. But that's the center of tech. Tech.
I was under the impression it was very dominated.
You know how depends on how you define dominated. It wasn't like women were absent and that their influence wasn't there. There were plenty of women in important positions, and it wasn't just a bunch of dudes working together. There were definitely women in the scene.
Oh, yeah. I just mean like, okay, like a rough like 10-to-1 ratio kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I've worked in jobs where it's all men all the time, and your head gets weird. It's not fun. I don't think it's healthy for men to just. I think it's just not good for anybody's mental health.
It depends what you're doing. I'm going to say it depends what you're doing. Because
weird enough, I've been in the opposite in offices where it's like I was the only man in there, and it was worse, way worse.
Dude, I've done both. I
was in the kitchens with, there were women in the kitchen. Don't get me wrong, but it was still very, again, a 10-12-to-1 sort of ratio, and after you clock off, it was everybody's cool. At the office, like people would go on and on. I couldn't stand going to these after office gatherings at the pub or coffee houses or whatever, because all they would do is talk about work and people they hate at work. And I'm like, ladies,
man,
I love you, I appreciate you, but I'm going home because this is I can't handle
You
this.
need fun. You need to find funner people. That was not my experience with this sort of stuff. But I will say this: that it's been my experience that when men and women work together, they both bring better versions of themselves to the table. When it's all men, there's certain kinds of dysfunction that kick in, and when it's all women, oh God, I've seen the things I've seen when they forget that you're the guy in the office. That's pretty scary too. I've seen stuff.
Yeah, you find out that
Or I wasn't there.
women are evil.
Yeah, you guys are way grosser than we
They're
are.
way more evil than men are.
Oh, sorry.
Way more evil.
No, men are pretty terrible too. But I mean, honestly, people are just at their best when it's mixed.
Yeah,
That's just all I'm trying to say. And this is not supposed to be a long topic. Okay, where are we? Equality, check that off. Good, we've now talked about equality. Oh, there was this story from the UK that happened, I guess, this spring. Private school, one of the Muslim students decided to go to a secular school and then complain that he couldn't do religious stuff while he was there. It's
Good.
like, yeah, and he lost because suck it.
So Sora's sympathetic.
No, I'm absolutely. If you went to a religious school and then complained
everybody
because they made you do the religious stuff, people would say, well, that's tough. Why'd you go to the religious school? You're going to a secular school. There's rules. You just have to follow them. If you don't like them, don't go. Just don't go. I was really happy.
We don't have the opportunity to have a school with our own religion. Then you do Sunday school. Then somebody opens up because there are more than plenty mosques in the UK, so they can do Sunday school equivalent.
Exactly.
Can take you to that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we all agree about this.
One with me of this troublesome imam. It's got a ring to it.
Yeah. Forget these people. Good for England actually not auto-cucking yourself again for no good reason.
One tiny step.
One tiny step. Hey, let's talk
doesn't
about
do any different.
let's talk about the Canadian space civilian space program briefly. Maritime Launch and Reaction Dynamics partner to advance Canadian orbital launch facilities. Go away. So it looks like a group is decided that they don't like the fact that you guys don't really seem to have a commercial space program. So somebody there is trying to fix that. And honestly, if you look at if New Zealand can do it, you guys can do it too, because you're a better country than New Zealand.
We just decided that funding DEI programs and giving illegals paid rent for years is more important to spend our funding.
You had a company doing commercial launches.
No, not commercial, but
yeah.
we had a space program.
Well, yeah, I mean, you built a rocket and you had a space program, but this is like you guys don't have an Electron, you don't have the Arian.
NASA type
if you want to launch your own stuff into orbit, and you want to do it without paying a bunch of money to the government, it's good that the private sector is finally stepping up. I think it's funny that they're this maritime thing. I just can sort of imagine them with a homemade rocket with some Newfoundland Screech, just trying to launch that thing. That would work. I think Newfoundland Screech would make great rocket fuel.
Canada's first satellite was known as Alouette 1. I knew I remembered that. I thought it was Alouette 1.
All right.
September of 1962.
But good for you guys, honestly.
Nice go on.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool.
Are we gonna talk about the rocket now?
We could. That would be.
Can't wait.
Let's see.
Going to Mars?
Uranus, actually.
Yeah. Just circle it.
Maybe Pluto, just to piss off Harry to say, I've been to another planet.
Tismal. No, minor planet.
Yeah, exactly.
Pluto is the Fresno of planets. It's I mean, theoretically, it's a city.
I appreciate that. Yep.
Good old Fresno.
We talked about the whole going back to the moon thing, right? And how we don't want to, or well, I should say SpaceX doesn't want to just put men on the moon as we did in the 60s, or as you guys did in the 60s, I should say, us as humanity. But also wants to make it so that people can do long-term habitation there, studies, like build infrastructure so that we can get from here to there and constantly transfer material back and forth, right?
Yeah.
Most importantly, supplies, so that these long-term habitation missions can happen. And so Thunderfoot, this abject idiot who just got complete Elon derangement syndrome, is like, oh well, he said we were gonna land on, or we were gonna send people to the moon, but look, all he did was catch a rocket. And I'm thinking,
I think Phil is actually losing it.
He's lost it a long time ago. And I'm just, again though, but I'm thinking, because we talked about in passing, the knowledge, the calculations that have to be exactly precise to be able to catch these rockets. Not every step of the way, from launching them to catching them. Like he dismisses it like it's nothing. And the people on his YouTube video and Twitter post about this, I was like, it's clear that none of them have, and I mean, I'm no expert by any means. I think our closest thing to an expert here is Harry, and he doesn't launch rockets.
No,
but like,
not professionally.
It's clearly that they don't even have a basic understanding. One day, Harry, you'll get that backyard rocket up and running.
Woohoo!
The screech,
And then I'll prove that the world is round. I mean, flat. Whatever.
Finally, or on a turtle's back.
Yeah. The Dogons had it.
Just watching the footage of it, I'm in amazement. I'm in amazement that they've done the work to be able to catch these things. Catch something the size of a small skyscraper.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
No, it's nothing. He failed. He didn't send people to the moon. I just don't know what else to say. Like, am I crazy here in thinking that, like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard? Or, like...
Well, leaving Thundercuck out of it for a moment. Thundercuck.
Oh,
isn't that a song by
yes, yeah,
AC/DC? Thundercuck. Right. I think that's what they say.
Whoa.
Thundercuck.
I just heard that yesterday.
Yeah.
Driving around.
Oh, Elon, where did you go? Okay, so here is the booster coming in. Let me turn the sound down a little bit.
We're now down to 3 Raptor engines.
Look at the thrust vectoring on that. That's so beautiful.
I know, it really is.
People, the amount of... It's just amazing.
Thunderbirds are go.
It's just hard to talk when I see this.
Absolutely. I have the same reaction, Harry. Absolutely transfixed when this happened.
And how do you see this and aren't amazed?
It's...
like, okay, I know how, because
amazing.
they know nothing about the goings-on behind how this type of stuff
happens.
You
can't parallel park and you're telling me that this is no big deal.
Exactly.
I bet you the people working on that, they just are ready to sleep for a week.
The number of complicated mathematical functions that had to be gone through and made perfect to get this going. And it is absolutely mind-bending. When
that's great.
They got to gimbal the engines
too. Their faces of, like, they know it was going to succeed, but, like, seeing it happen, their work, even though even though the person may have had the littlest sort of contribution overall to this project, is still a part of the project, and these people should be feeling those emotions and should be sitting there weeping at the feat that they've just been able to accomplish as a team. It's
my point is that when they decided that they had to gimbal the engines, that meant they had to write all the code, all the control code for that, and had to be perfect.
There's not much making that inherently stable, right? They have these 4 little grid things that help change the orientation of it as it's coming in. So this thing's coming into atmosphere. Sonic booms are going off. It's traveling at incredible speed, and then at the last minute, a bunch of rocket engines burn to slow it down, and then they use 3 of the engines to just Merlin engines, excuse me, to bring this thing under control and push it back on the launch pad. This is an amazing technical accomplishment. But there is also the other part of it, which is what ended up happening to Starship. Did you guys follow that?
Oh,
No.
yeah,
Was
yeah. I
something
watched the
happened?
flight of Starship, too. That was an
Yeah.
amazing landing.
So here's the
There it
water
is.
landing of the Starship part of it. So they brought it in and got it down to really low velocity and just kind of laid it down on the ocean surface here. If they had really pushed it a little further, they probably could have landed this damn thing on land.
I mean, that's the next step.
That's
right?
That's the next step.
And that's again to my point of what I do but don't understand about people who are such naysayers of this. It's like you take a step at a time. You don't leap. You have to make sure things work every step of the way, because like we just said, the next step is to then try this somewhere on land. Probably not the same as catching the boosters, but somewhere, you know, far enough away that if something were to happen, because everything is a chance. There's always you're not eliminating chance. You're just using the methods that will give you the least chance of failure. And then the next step would be, catch it like they did the boosters.
Well, actually, they're embracing failure. There's a lot of ways you can do this. If you have a complex problem, you could break it up into a lot of different pieces, study the hell out of each one, simulate. You could spend years trying to make the first landing perfect. But the likelihood that you're not going to screw something up is very, very high.
It's vanishingly small.
So what they're doing is they're basically doing a rapid development method where they're just saying, let's just set a lot of that aside. We won't try to be perfect. We'll just try to be better each time. We'll just try to learn from whatever mistakes we've made, and we will get a functioning product a lot faster than if we try to be perfect right out the door.
And there, what you have to do is you have to get out and start making the mistakes in a hurry.
This works better with physical objects than with software. I actually kind of despise this approach to making software, but for like a rocket, this is a great way to make a rocket.
No.
But my point is they're not developing it to fail. You know what I mean? But when things do go wrong, air quotes go wrong, or don't go as entirely wanted, then they learn from that data and they do better the next time.
But they're not developing it to not fail. That's the point. They're just saying let's just do the 90. We're going to do the 99%, and we accept that the 1% may contain a rapid unplanned disassembly.
Yes.
This has just got to piss them off, because there's been all this bickering between Elon and the FAA and the environmental groups. And that's right. We have this here. Let me see. I think it's actually under California. Okay. Go away. Of course, this has to happen, right? So Elon Musk says he'll take legal action after California officials. So what ended up happening was Elon... The California Coastal Commission decided that they didn't want him launching more rockets from Vandenberg with the Space Force because of environmental concerns. But then they said the quiet part out loud and started talking about his political stance and statements that he's made in the decision. Oof. They are going to get their pee-pee whacked, because that is so not good. They said the quiet part out loud, and Elon is going to sue them into oblivion. And so this thing that just happened with catching this first stage it does nothing but help him, because right now it's pretty obvious that all of the momentum is behind him. The space launch system is way behind schedule. The Starliner is not functioning at this point. The only one who's getting shit done is Elon. And if a three-letter agency at the state or the federal level gets in the way of that, there's no way they're not going to look bad. They've reached the limit of how much they can mess with him. They really want to mess with him for political reasons, but they just, if they're smart, they just can't. And that's awesome.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but he's going to have to sue them, because they want to do more launches. The government wants them to do more launches. So the people that have just been sort of sent out there to make Elon's life difficult are at odds with the people who have things they have to get done.
Actually, Harry, he said he was going to put people on Mars by 2029. He's obviously a liar.
Well, he didn't say he was going to bring them back. He could definitely put people on Mars by 2029.
I should use that in future.
Yeah.
Like I get that response all the time.
Oh, you mean
and it's like,
alive?
so what?
Yeah.
Like, do you like again going back to some of these people I talk to? I don't even know if they're people at this point. Like, they don't understand the amount of stuff that has to be done and the amount of people involved to do any of this stuff. Like you said, the only person who's not failing consistently is Elon and SpaceX, and it's like, well, oh, and then they'll use the argument, well, Elon doesn't actually do any of that work. I'm like, no, but do you tell the conductor of the symphony he's not doing work? It's so just you woke me up, and I'm feeling the blood pumping.
Yeah, well, the thing with the Coastal Commission is just terrible. I can't believe that they actually said that out loud. That's so dumb. You have to be really comfortable that you're just untouchable to say something like that. You know, and especially after the things that Elon Musk has been saying politically. Oh my God.
I mean, I don't think it'll have any repercussions in California, but like the rest of the world is looking, and I mean, a reckoning is coming. Not like, you know, violent, but like an ideological reckoning against this stupidity.
Yeah. Well, here's this. I think I got the synopsis right. Elon Musk responded after California officials rejected a request for more frequent SpaceX launches. The state's Coastal Commission denied a request from the U.S. Space Force on Thursday. The balls. They were literally saying that the frequency of the launches was possibly off-putting and upsetting to the animals in the area. It's like you're launching rockets. Anything that's in the area that doesn't like it is probably going to swim away. I just don't see where this weird pearl clutching about the frequency of the launches comes in. It's just
the
politics.
Sunfish won't run away.
Yeah.
The animals with brains
And that makes them the smartest.
Yeah.
The noise, the vibrations, they will scatter before that rocket even gets close.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Except the sunfish, but then we'll have barbecued sunfish.
Yeah. Nightmarish marine creature washes onto Southern California beach.
Is it a sunfish?
No. You know,
What the hell?
It's a moray eel.
Oh, God.
Look, he just wants to be your friend, Sora.
If it's
Hello, my
long
baby.
and
Hello, my
if
honey.
it's long in skin,
I
if
mean,
it's
it
long
does have
in
a
skin
nice
and
smile.
it tickles your skin, it's a moray.
It's a moray. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Ew.
It's black and it's
Yeah,
sneaky,
if you were walking along the beach and you saw this thing dead with that rictus grin on its face, I think you would be not happy. That's not an attractive fish, right?
Oh, he looks cuddly and
That's,
pudgy and cute.
That's one of Ursula's.
Ancient Romans
eels.
reportedly doted on moray eels and dressed them like beautiful women. Wait, what? I hadn't seen that part earlier.
As well.
Good night, folks.
Good night, folks.
That's it for us.
Remember to
crap.
hug your mores.
I need to find out more about this.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was fun. Okay, I have to do this because I can't contain my enthusiasm for the story anymore. Skep, you probably already know the answer, and I'm not asking for the answer. I just want to know if you know the answer already. Do you know where the name for WD-40 came from?
WD-40. It's
No. I don't want you to tell me anything about it. I just want to know. Do you know what the origin of the name is?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So do you already know, Sora?
Yes, I believe so.
Functional. Do you already know?
I missed the question. Sorry,
Do you know where the name for WD-40 came from?
I think I've heard it before, but
I thought it was actually interesting. So they were making, this was back at the beginning of the rocket age, and you don't want your rocket to get all rusty. They basically started trying to make a water displacement formula so that the rockets wouldn't rust in the parts. And they started with 1, and they kept making them, and they were all shit. And then they got to 40 and said, hey, this actually really works.
This water displacement 40 really works.
Yeah, water displacement formula attempt number 40 to come up with this compound to keep our rockets from rusting actually works great. And they started making this shit. and people who work there started taking it home and using it for everything because it's awesome.
And it is.
And
it's one of the basic elements of life, like duct tape.
yeah, I have a flowchart somewhere that basically says that shows whether you should use duct tape or WD-40 for any problem.
I think I've got that too here.
Yeah, I had not heard that story.
WD-40. It's like, is that kind of those things? Is it supposed to move? No duct tape. Is it supposed to move? Yes, WD-40.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, the product was developed with the intention of protecting the outer body of the Convair aircraft as well as the balloon tanks of the Atlas missile from rust and corrosion.
I love this stuff.
I do too. This
Fantastic.
is fantastic.
It absolutely is. It fixes so many things.
Everybody loves it.
I had to change a license plate cover, and of course, one that hasn't been touched in decades. So of course it's rusted, and then one particular one was stripped. Don't ask me why. And I have a tiny little can that's felt full, but the spray nozzle, like the sprayer, the thing is something is broken. So all I could squeeze out of there after trying to get that was like 2 drops, and that's all I needed to like just lubricate enough to get the socket wrench in there and just brute force
Just get it out. Yeah. Perfect.
And it came out perfectly. And it was that's all I needed. And I was like trying with like my finger to just get in the whatever it is I could possibly get.
Such a feeling of triumph too when
oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Nice.
Why don't you use brake cleaner? No, why don't you shut up? Shut your dirty whore mouth. Why don't you use No, well, I'm not going to use brake cleaner.
I use it in my air compressor and my airbrush on the mechanical moving parts, not in where the paint would be.
Brake cleaner or WD-40?
WD-40.
Oh, okay. I was going to say. I have to unfriend you.
Isn't it good? I mean, other than Cryptic's weird use of it, like what isn't it good for? And that's it. Honestly, I heard you said WD-40 is a foreign product, and that's what I originally thought as well. Because I thought it stood for like Wet Dreams 40 or something, like something stupid and silly like that.
Yeah.
Because there was, you know how much bullshit there is on the internet.
I hadn't noticed, but yeah, now that you mention it, there's a lot of bullshit on the internet. Okay, here's something else that's cool. I found this video, which is great. I know you probably all have heard of a microburst. Hell, the amount of flying Sora's been doing lately, you've probably been in one. It's pretty amazing, but I've never seen video of them from the side. I've experienced them, which is painful and terrible, but this is what they look like from the side.
Cloudy weather, you can witness a phenomenon called a microburst.
You don't want to be under that in an airplane.
Or large raindrops fall through a layer of dry air.
Yeah.
As the hailstones melt and the raindrops evaporate, they absorb latent heat from the surrounding air.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And some of those particles are really going fast.
I got caught in one of those driving over Highway 17, Skep, and it was I was going downhill and around a corner, and it was sunny, right? But there were clouds, and suddenly it was like somebody had taken a fire hose and pointed it at my windshield while I'm doing 65 going around a corner.
That is that is.
I'm glad I remember what the road looks like because I can't see a goddamn thing.
Luckily, my friend and I were in his house when it happened.
Yeah.
And because it was a large hailstorm event like that, like the size of golf balls to like small baseballs or maybe tennis balls. But you know, his car was out in the driveway, and we rush out, and we couldn't get out to the car because of the speed and impact and size of these things. To get it into the garage. And then after the event, it looked like the thing was just peppered with bullets. Like it tore all the cars on the street up. And it was very small like that, but it went through the city, and we were right under it. It was terrifying. I've never seen something like that before. I didn't know that they had a special name.
On the downside, your car's all messed up, but on the upside, it may have more aerodynamic stability now.
I mean, luckily it was a modern car.
I was thinking of golf balls.
Panels were just easily replaced and all covered by his insurance. But like at the time, it was disheartening because it's like we can't even move 5 feet from under the awning to go save the car.
Yeah.
Because it's just so violent. And then, like 2 hours later, it all melted, and you would never know anything happened.
So how about this?
Oh, no.
Big ass brick of soap, candy corn.
But okay, as someone who really likes candy corn,
Yeah.
there's no real scent or flavor to candy corn. So unless they made it the color stripe like candy corn, it's
It says it
quite a
has a
waste of
sweet and
material.
smoky vanilla scent. Will remind you
why
of those
and what do
memorable
you like about
Halloweens
it?
spent encased in store-bought costumes and lugging around pillowcases full of tooth-rotting treats.
With
Where's
an
Kefki?
aluminum foil finish.
Mm.
I need to show this to Kefki.
Of course, you know, if there's a razor blade in it, you can
Right. Yeah,
you can
it's not giving
not
anybody
care anymore
ideas.
about it after that. All right, let's see. Oh, well, there was this this thing that Trump did a few days ago, and you probably all know where this is going. He went to a charity dinner. Was it for like a Catholic charity? And
No, it was the Al Smith dinner.
oh,
Yeah.
And it, that is traditionally a Catholic. His Eminence, the Cardinal of Boston or New York, I guess the Cardinal of New York was there, every Paul on earth except Kamala Harris was there, and
Yeah.
every journalist was too, and they were, that was crazy for her to miss that.
it was like the
That was
correspondence
absolutely
dinner,
insane.
but probably
Yes,
better
it-
food.
it-
I'm guessing.
Yes, exactly.
The incredible part about the Al Smith dinner, too, Skep, is that no matter who's in attendance, they hang their politics at the door.
Yeah.
Like they'll joke and but nobody, like all the division, the political division, they leave it at the door. It seems like
Let
from
me
all the
tell- let
footage
me
I've
tell
seen
you-
this
let
year
me-
and the last 2 times it's happened.
Functional. Just to back up just what you said.
Mhm.
Donald Trump was sitting on the same dais just down the table from Tish James.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And talking to Schumer
And Schumer, yeah.
while he was
yeah.
making his jokes and speeching.
Yep.
He embraced Chuck Schumer. He put his
yeah.
arm around him.
They've known each other for decades.
Yeah.
They have known each
Yeah.
other
And it's fine. He
forever.
wasn't even considered to be a racist until he decided to run for office on the wrong ticket. If he'd run as a Democrat, you wouldn't be hearing any of this nonsense.
No,
But
He
let me
would-
play a
he'd-
clip
he'd be
because it's
king.
awesome.
Yeah.
he'd be
yeah.
king.
Group called White Dudes for Harris. Have you seen this? White Dudes for Harris. Does anybody know? Are some of you here? White Dudes for Harris doesn't sound like it. But I'm not worried about them at all because their wives and their wives' lovers are all voting for me.
Look at Gaffigan. Gaffigan couldn't even hold it straight.
I really like Jim Gaffigan, and I'm glad that they picked him to host this thing because they could have picked somebody awful. Gaffigan is like the perfect choice, and he really was absolutely, as a comedian, just not in anything remotely near politics. He'd make jokes about Hot Pockets and how he sunburns easily. That's Jim Gaffigan. Family man, funny guy. He's a really good comedian.
Yeah.
But-
He's a life observer.
But he
guy.
recently, on the 50th anniversary of the Saturday Night Live, on the cold open, he played Tim Walz, and it wasn't a sympathetic treatment, not by
not by any
not by any stretch of the imagination. And then here he is at a thing that's got a heavily political bent to it. We may be getting a whole new Jim Gaffigan out of it. A nice centrist, funny, fakes fun of both sides Jim Gaffigan. I welcome that. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. All right. Trump really is a savage, though. That's one hell of a joke, especially with the Monsignor there to the right.
Yeah.
Why are we talking about cuckolding again? I came here for the fish. Okay, so let's see.
And the loaves.
Wives and their wives' lovers
Yeah.
are all voting for me.
Yeah, let's see. Big ass brick of candy corn soap. That's done. We need to have serenity for this.
But
next one.
according to MSNBC and TYT and CNN and all the other usual culprits, Trump is exhausted. He's not doing any public events. Like he's nowhere to be found.
Mm-hmm.
This is AI.
Just
Don't believe your lying eyes.
Just wanted to make sure I was actually in the right night. Because man, the whole tax thing was just abysmal.
Nightmare.
I completely forgot that I hadn't reconciled the general ledger from my checking account. I thought I did it back when I filed my extension. I took care of my credit cards and line of credit. I took care of all that stuff, but I had like this huge chunk of work that I had just thought was done that just wasn't. And then the day before October 15th, when you file an extension comes around and I'm like, oh shit, this is bad. And, so it was just like the worst day. I just told all my customers, no, I will not be available today, as I just stay up all night and all into the next day just doing nothing but tax stuff. It was just the worst. I really hate our tax system, Skep. I know I'm not the only one, but
amen.
It just should not be this hard.
It shouldn't exist.
Really? Yeah.
How? What? Who thinks it's a good idea to tax the income of somebody? If you want to tax something, and it makes much more sense to tax it at consumption.
Agreed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pay for what you use, not for what you earn.
Much finer control over, how much you want to collect from whom and when.
And the rich folks that avoid paying taxes by essentially deferring everything, take a loan out, don't sell the asset, right? There are all sorts of things you can do if you've got a lot of money to avoid paying taxes in the moment.
Yep.
They'll have to be paid later when you're dead and you don't care. But in the moment, you're just like, let it ride. Take this money that I earned and double down and put it into something else, and then you just build wealth.
Yep.
If you were doing a consumption tax, then that wouldn't even be an issue, right? Because their consumption would be taxed, and all of the machinations that we have to do in the tax code to try to work around all the goals that people have. You wouldn't have to worry about alternative minimum tax. You wouldn't be cursing hedge fund managers. It would all just be straightforward. The trouble is that something like a VAT tax is pretty terrible because you're just taxing the taxes on top of the taxes. And it gets way out of hand too. So you really need a thing that's at the final point of consumption and not taxing it over and over and over again. And that's hard.
No, you can tune that. Yeah, you can tune that by the different business processes. And you can have some rules that will make that philosophy that will engineer that into the system. There is a way to do it. Guaranteed, that's not just a solvable problem; it's easily solvable.
Yeah. I need to find smarter friends with more money when it comes to this stuff because I pay way too much taxes. I'm having dinner with a friend of mine who's a corporate lawyer. I might listen more carefully when he tells me to open a C corp, turn my company into a C corp next time. But you're
not a C corp.
I'm not. Anyway,
Harry, this is your friend.
I am incorporated. I'm just not a C corp. I'm just not a C corp.
Oh, you are a corp.
I am a corp. I'm just not a C corp.
You probably should be. Well,
yeah, I know. All of my friends are now telling me I'm an idiot. It's okay.
And now another one.
Let's see. So let's talk about AI very briefly. AI engineers claim new algorithm reduces AI power consumption by 95%, replaces complex floating point multiplication with integer addition. I find it... Okay, so basically, floating point numbers are hard to work with for computers. Integers are easy to work with for computers because when you do integer math, all you're really doing is comparing...
push and pop.
You're basically just comparing the bits.
Floating point?
A floating point is like a number with a decimal in it.
Oh, okay.
So when you start getting numbers like 3.1415926, that sort of thing, you can represent it out to lots and lots of decimal places. Working with those kinds of numbers is much more difficult computationally than working with integers. So the claim is that by using AI models that only do integer math instead of floating point math, they can do it with 1/20th the power. Mm-hmm. Which begs the question, if it was that easy to do that, I'm surprised somebody didn't already figure this out. They've just been blithely going around with their expensive floating point math, because that's like the first thing you do when you're optimizing something. Can I get away with not using floating point?
Right.
Like, please, do I have to use floating point math? Because it's the most painful. especially
just
if you've
the
got a
most
lot of
costly.
things at the end of the decimal point.
It's
If you
the
do,
most cycle costly.
it is the most cycle costly because, like I was going to say, addition and multiplication are actually incredibly simple things to
Yes.
do if you don't have a decimal point to worry about.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. If you look at the number of cycles and operations it takes at the CPU level, it's a lot more. Addition and subtraction are simple. And even more so, you can actually load them into these arrays and then have whole arrays of numbers do
Get
these
processed at
operations
one
processed at
whack.
the same time.
Yes,
And so there's like this
exactly.
huge economy of scale. You pay for one instruction and you get like 256 numbers multiplied or divided. But anyway, that's not important right now. I kind of view this as being dubious, but you guys have been seeing the articles about all the power that AI is using, right?
Yeah.
Just people are talking about building nuclear plants next to AI data centers. Didn't we see this in that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger? I mean, it seems a bit crazy to support generative AI by building nuclear plants next to data centers. It feels like we've kind of lost the plot a little bit.
Yes, somebody has to walk up, see that situation, and say, "No, you can't do that."
But we can absolutely make it more efficient because if you look at the number of AI operations or the types of operations that support AI,
Uh-huh.
and you look at the amount of work product you get out of, say, a Raspberry Pi with a little AI hat on it, or an Apple laptop that has AI stuff built into the Apple Silicon versus a
standard.
NVIDIA 4090 or an NVIDIA A100 or an H100 or some big tens of thousands of dollars NVIDIA processor card that uses 1600 watts of power. In terms of like how much work you get done per watt, it's really not enough. And they're just throwing money and brute force behind all this stuff. So there's going to have to be some kind of optimization. If they can come up with codes that get the work done with 1/20th the power, that's great. But I think they can solve this problem in hardware too. They can easily cut the amount of... Yeah, I mean, you could easily use like an army of more power efficient AI processors than just throwing big NVIDIA cards. Use the NVIDIA cards for the video games. Send them to Functional. He'll like it.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
If somebody's handing out free 4090s, you'll take one.
Free 4090s.
Right? Send me a free Cybertruck. I'll drive it around and I'll be happy. It's fine.
Yeah.
As long as it's free. I'm not paying for it.
Are we allowed to paint it? Chrome it up?
Oh, one of my friends told me that she saw a pink Cybertruck just this week.
Nice.
It was at a hospital, which means it had to be like some doctor or somebody, who knows? But they had a pink Cybertruck.
Maybe Mary Kay.
No. The person who is putting foil or whatever, wrapping a Cybertruck does not work for a living.
No. Well, they gold-plated one. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Did you see that one, Sora?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, the Jerry Rig Everything
did
the gold-plated one. That was pretty sweet. All right.
Well, maybe I did see that one. I saw the Trump rap, which I actually kind of liked because
Trump rap.
Cute and funny.
He's the greatest rap of all time. Okay.
I still find the complete devotion of political figures a little weird, but whatever.
Okay, I feel like I need to reward Sora for suffering through me talking about AI. How about studies suggest that Jedi rodents remotely move matter using sound to enhance their sense of smell? Do I have your attention, Sora?
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Okay. Rats make weird ultrasonic noises. And we didn't know why. Why are they making these weird noises? We couldn't figure out what the purpose of them was. It wasn't echolocation. It wasn't some weird form of communication. It's just like Nigel is just squeaking really high frequencies and we don't know why. So the theory that they've come up with is that literally they're sending these sound pulses out into the space where they are to dislodge particles of dust and scent particles and things to increase their ability to smell the things in their surroundings. They're literally using their screeching Nigel voices to kick up dust and scent particles so that they can function better. Hence the Jedi rodent thing. That's what they're claiming.
Clickbaity, but that's kind of cool nonetheless.
Well, it's not quite as clickbaity as a lot of things. I mean, these are actual researchers looking at this thing. This is like real science from what we can tell. The phenomenon has never been observed before, or I believe even suspected in any animal. Professor of psychology at UB College of Arts and Sciences. They're creating new pathways of information by manipulating their environment and controlling the molecular interactions of particles around them. Yeah, they're kicking up dust so they can smell better, basically. I like it. It says, all the things they're not doing. They're not flirting. They're not communicating. That's why they were like, well, what the hell's going on? But you can measure stuff like particle densities in the air and see what the effects of the noise is.
Yeah.
And so that's where this theory came from. I mean, it's actually backed up by some observation. I think we need to dissect these rats, or while they're alive, put electrodes in their brains and figure out with AI what they're thinking. How about that, Sora?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've seen the Rats of Nim and read the books, so I believe it.
Yep. Pretty amazing.
I'm on their side when they take over.
Jedi
New
rats.
rodent
They'll come for
overlords.
you.
Yeah.
They'll know about Nigel. They'll come for you.
Yeah, speaking of rats, McDonald's sues several meat packing companies claiming they colluded to inflate beef prices.
Oh,
Like
that's
Big
not
Donald's
exciting.
uses
I thought it
beef.
was going to be rat meat.
Well,
How dare you inflate?
I would never
beef
claim
rat
that
prices?
McDonald's serves rat meat, but I do remember when Burger King was serving kangaroo meat unbeknownst to a bunch of people. Do you remember that, Skep?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
that was a
remember.
bit of a scandal. It's like, wait, what? They were buying some beef from Australia, shipping it to the U.S., and it turned out that in that beef was a not insignificant amount of kangaroo meat.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Oh my God.
capitalism always
Awesome.
wins.
I love it.
Well, was anybody
Nothing wrong
actually
with kangaroo.
harmed by this? That's the thing. I mean, it's really more of a psychic harm, right? It's not like they just doubled over in pain, going, "Oh, the kangaroo, it's kicking up," and my
kangaroo's
kangaroo
delicious.
allergy. Yeah.
It is.
What does it taste like? Chicken?
No, it's
No.
a red meat. It's
I'm
like
just kidding. Everything tastes like chicken.
It's-
That's
Beefish.
Oh, you were asking a legitimate question.
no, I
It's,
was
it's
kidding.
It's beefish.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like ostrich, kangaroo, and beef all have very similar, though ostrich is the most clean, bright flavor for a red meat.
Ostrich
Ostrich
is
considered
actually
red.
pretty tasty. I really
Oh, I love
like
it.
ostrich.
There was a place here about 10 years ago. Of course, it shut down because all the good places do.
Mm-hmm.
They served the ostrich carpaccio,
Mm.
actually, technically it was ostrich tartare because it was in the tartare method of serving raw meat.
Hmm.
It was phenomenal. It was like the best thing. It was like tastier than pretty much any beef I've had. So
Wow. Well, even on the cow, there's parts that are beefier tasting than other parts. And it isn't just a function of the amount of fat that's in a particular piece of meat. Like, what is it? Not Flatiron steaks all of a sudden are costing more than ribeye in some places, at least at the wholesale level. I was like trying to go, I get that it's like a beefier but chewier steak versus a ribeye. But it's like, why would I pay more for any cut of meat that's going into a steak than a ribeye? I remain unconvinced. Am I just a Visigoth?
it's because it's becoming fashionable. It's like Flatiron's hanger and skirt
Mm-hmm.
here have gone very expensive because people found out, oh, that's actually pretty good, and it used to be quite cheap, even to order. So now it's fashionable, so they're upping the price.
Well,
Is
hanger
my
steak
point of view.
was allegedly what the butcher would take home. It was like a little leftover piece that was sort of premium. It's like, I'm not going to sell this. I'm going to take this home. Sort of like for fishermen, sand dabs used to sort of fill that role. Around here on the Pacific coast, down California way, sand dabs, that's what the fishermen would take home. It's like, oh, is there any bycatch with sand dabs in there? Yeah, well, we're going to eat that because it's delicious. So that's sort of what the hanger steak was. But yeah, now everybody knows about it and the price has gone way up. But as a general rule, I'm not paying more for any part of a cow that's better than the ribeye, because the ribeye is just like my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's in addition to beef just skyrocketing in price.
Yeah.
They want you to eat the bugs.
If you have real quality beef, it's hard to beat a New York steak. I really do like the New York cut.
The New York cut is really good, and it might actually be beefier, but it's not as tender as the ribeye portion.
Near as tender. No, the ribeye is it may not be as tender as the fillet, but it has so much more character. It's so much more interesting than the fillet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got to do stuff to the fillet. The fillet's got to get dressed up with bacon and stuff to make it interesting.
I've had this weird craving for chicken fried steak for about the last week, and I'm not really sure why I have this. Maybe it was cowboy Kent Rollins watching too many cowboy cooking videos or something. But today I bought 40 ounces of sliced mushrooms and 10 pounds of white onions.
Here it goes.
Yeah, it's starting. All right. That's right. We're not supposed to talk about food. It makes chat angry. Let's see. I guess one question about the McDonald's story, though, before we leave is, like, how do they know? How do you know that they're colluding? Just because the prices are the same doesn't mean that you know they're colluding. It seems like it would be a hard thing to prove.
They may have
Maybe
other
they're just
evidence.
hoping.
Yeah. Well, they may be making the accusation and hoping that in the discovery process they'll be able to prove it, which is kind of a sleazy way to go about dealing with this. The fast food giant filed a federal complaint against Tyson, JBS, Cargill, and National Beef Packing Company, as well as its subsidiaries, alleging the companies engaged in a price-fixing scheme for beef. Yeah, that seems entirely possible, but it's going to be a really hard thing to prove. All right. Are you guys familiar with C. diff? The horrible thing? Well, guess what, Sora? There's an mRNA vaccine that they've developed. So far, it works in mice that protects people against C. diff. How do you feel about this? I mean, you probably like the idea of the vaccine, but the mRNA part of it, it's kind of like, well, if everything's a hammer, I mean, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
I mean, great.
Yeah.
Are they going to actually do proper vaccine testing rounds before they put it out on the market, or are they going to test it on? I mean,
well, they're testing it on mice.
See,
you know.
The thing is that if it's to help to treat it, right, then this is just going to be something that someone can choose to take, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
My issue with anything like this is the voluntold aspect of taking it.
Yeah. Can you tell people briefly what C. diff is and why we care?
No. I just know it's a really bad bacteria, and you can't keep anything in.
Yeah,
It does all sorts of terrible things.
It's contagious. It's bad.
Most Clostridium difficile infections occur in people in healthcare settings. It's almost iatrogenic. If you're in a hospital,
like MRSA almost. Yeah.
If you're
it'll get you.
If you're in a hospital, a nursing home, like long-term care facilities, like where my dad is, places where germs spread easily, antibiotic use is common in people's health, puts them at high risk of getting an infection. And it is spread by contact.
Yeah, easily spread by contact is the problem, and it's the people
hands, cart handles, bed rails,
things. And I mean, if you're lucky, you can throw some metronidazole/Flagyl at it, and you might get lucky. But more often than not, it's like, oh, let's just skip over all the things and just go straight to vancomycin because we don't want this person to die. And it's like if you have to throw like final last resort antibiotics at it to touch it.
You
don't want that.
You might actually have to send the Cleocin.
Yeah, this is not good. This is.
Yeah, you might have to do the like chloramphenicol. One of the things where taking this antibiotic is a risk to your life.
Yeah, I think if they can dial it in so it doesn't actually hurt people, this is probably going to be a big win for people in healthcare. But like Sora said, and maybe you're going to test it this time, right? Because what it does is it essentially just clues your body in on this is what this stuff looks like, and if you see it come your way, just whack it,
Kill it.
That's all it does. Is just it's a wanted poster that it sends your immune system and says, yeah, if you see this shit, just kill it, because ain't nothing good gonna happen if you get infected with this. Your best case scenario is flagell, and you don't want that.
I just found out, and I wasn't aware of this, but just to make everyone feel better, it's there's some strains that are resistant to bleach, so don't worry about it.
Resistant to bleach.
No. They're resistant to alcohol. That's Clostridium. You're absolutely right. I read that study.
Yeah.
I read that study. They found this stuff growing.
Let's hope the hospital, and this is probably why Skep.
Yeah, this is
you
fine.
know, if it's a hospital they won't use stuff like, I don't even know. You know, if they're starting to cut corners, right, with disinfectant in hospital, and they're like, we're just going to use bleach. That'll kill everything.
Exactly. It's very resistant to the usual agents. They found this stuff growing on the inside of an isopropyl bottle of alcohol.
Nice.
Jesus.
Nice.
They found scum and they cultured it out, and it was this stuff.
That'd be like DB Cooper living in the break room of the FBI. That's like, wait, what? I was looking for an analogy. I'm glad it was a clean one. Good job, Ari. Good job.
Boom, boom.
People say that all you do is say disgusting / boring things. No, that was good. That was a good joke. So, hey, what about your people, Functional? Turns out that Cristobal Columbus was one of your people. He was neither Genoese nor Italian. He was actually, let's see, let me not get it wrong. No, not Spanish Sephardic Jewish origin.
Oh, not Sephardic.
Yes. Spanish Sephardic Jewish origin.
Which, whatever. But... See, the dog agrees. The dog does not agree.
God, I'm sorry.
So when Kamala starts going off on Columbus, right? Like here.
This week, as we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day, as we speak truth about our nation.
Okay, I can't listen to any more of this. She basically starts complaining about Columbus Day. Does that make her anti-Semitic? I just want to know. Functional. I mean, because you're the arbiter of these things, because Columbus is one of your people.
German Arab?
No, I thought you had some Jewish background.
Yeah, but it's two totally different, like...
Well, oh, really?
Ashkenazi Jews are even, like different genetically than Sephardic Jews.
Okay.
You learn something new every day.
I thought you guys all stuck together when you were controlling the weather and fixing the bank rates and all that sort of stuff. No?
Harry.
Oh, sorry.
Shh.
I like Jewish people.
God damn it.
Oh, yeah, I almost got into a conversation about the Middle East with another one of my friends this week, and I dodged that landmine. It's like, oh, shit, I got to go check the dates on my dairy products. I just said, feet, do your stuff. I got the hell out of that conversation before it even started. Yeah, we're definitely not having that conversation.
The Judaism I was trying to think of, Functional, is Mizrahi, the descendants of the Jews from the Middle East and North Africa. Those were the ones who went into Spain. Those are actually Mizrahi. Those are not Sephardic. People think they're Sephardic because there are Sephardic Jews in North Africa, but the ones who crossed over, I believe, were the Mizrahi.
Oh, okay. You learn something new every day. I did not know that.
I mean, honestly, who cares about his genealogy? Isn't it cool that we can figure this shit out, though?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's so awesome.
Cool. I mean, I didn't even know my family before they went to Italy. They came from Sardinia. I found that out through Ancestry.
Oh, you evolved from sardines?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Shiny, small, swim in groups. So have you been following this whole thing with 23andMe?
Right.
Anybody here send their stuff into 23andMe?
Not me, thank goodness.
Nope. Okay, that's good
Why
because
did they just get leaked?
they're having financial difficulties, and so they're looking to sell themselves. And because of the agreements that are there, who knows what's going to happen to all of that data, all that customer data that they've been collecting when it gets sold to who knows
Tell
who.
me there's not an escrow agreement or a trust agreement set up for the certified destruction of that data.
There isn't. So imagine, if you will, some company decides to buy this with sort of a wink and a nod for handing this over to the government voluntarily. Yeah. Who needs a search warrant when all you can do is just have some sympathetic company buy this thing and then have access to all this data, and then the government would, through that company, through that NGO, essentially have unfettered access to the whole database. No warrant necessary. It's just your 4th and 14th Amendment rights. Who cares?
That's exactly right.
Who cares? Your Secretary of State, Skep, seems to be a bit of a slippery fellow. It's easy to not call out people sort of on your side of things. But I read this thing about, judge reportedly strikes down Texas law that Ken Paxton frequently uses to investigate companies and nonprofits. They found the smuggest picture of Ken Paxton in existence. That's a great picture. So it turns out that they had, I had it highlighted. I don't know why the highlighting disappeared. But essentially, they have a law in Texas that would allow him to just make requests for information without there being, about how the company conducts its business. Like, let's look at your books kind of thing. But there's no warrant, there's no due process, there's no right to appeal. It's just, let me look at your stuff now, and you have no recourse. And the judge just said, this is easy. This violates the 4th and the 14th Amendments. And
directly.
Yeah. And absolutely correctly. It's like, I can imagine why Ken Paxton would like to have this tool, because if he finds somebody he doesn't like, he can just start poking around in their stuff. But if I wouldn't want Letitia James to have access to this tool, honestly, just because Ken Paxton's sort of on our side, I don't want him to have it either.
No, I don't want to have any marauding bureaucrat to have this kind of power to come after people who have done nothing more than offend some political baboon. Fuck that.
Yeah. That's pretty slimy.
It is. That's awful.
Yeah. And I guess, if you have the law right there and you don't use it, maybe that's a dereliction of duty in itself. But no, this is bad. This is bad juju. This is bad juju. Just enjoy yours.
Yeah, stop it. I thought you'd react to that.
Yeah.
Oy vey.
Yeah.
Oy.
Judge Mark Lane of the Western District of Texas verbally granted a permanent injunction stopping Paxton using what's called the request to examine to probe myriad practices. The ruling stemmed from a lawsuit filed by Spirit Aerosystems, a 737 jet manufacturer that received such a request from Paxton early this year, requiring the company to produce a variety of documents. Yeah, it just bypasses all due process. It doesn't give them a chance to say, why do you need to see this? And a judge to decide if it's a reasonable request. It's like, just give it to me.
What, Harry, how is this not an illegal taking of your resources, your time and effort that it takes to produce the results of this inquiry and to see that it's delivered satisfactorily to the required authority?
Well, I'm sure that Ken Paxton, in cases where he stumbled across something sensitive, appointed a special master on his own to make sure that it was all above board, and he in no way just violated the person's rights. Sorry, I bruised the inside of my cheek there.
Sarcasm flag.
Yeah.
Sarcasm pennant hoisted, sir.
Did you get a chance to go back and watch the thing from last week that I sent you the pointer to? We had a good time looking at the appeal of Trump on the Letitia James case.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You know what my week has been like.
Don't worry about it.
I can't remember what that was.
Yeah, well, essentially the appeals court in New York was having a spirited discussion with the representatives of Letitia James about, like, wait a second, you have two sophisticated parties, nobody was hurt. Why exactly is this the Attorney General's concern?
You don't have a fucking plaintiff.
It was practically of the form, well, anytime somebody conducts business in a way that's not completely 100% above board, we're all really hurt, aren't we? Doesn't that really just hurt society and our soul and, just mean that as a species we'll never ascend to another level of evolution, that childhood's end will never arrive, or whatever metaphor? It's just, no, shut up. You're stupid.
That's the sociology argument, and it's bullshit.
It's complete bullshit. We're all lessened by the fact that Trump put down the wrong number for the value of Mar-a-Lago. Even though they had the people from the bank show up and say, we didn't care what number he put down, we knew he was good for it. We literally didn't care. It's the stupidest thing ever, but watching those judges grill the people from New York was pretty satisfying. And by the end of it, they're essentially saying, please don't sanction us. Just like, please,
what's
just
really
don't.
Funny about this is that in his political enemies like this, Trump, if he gets elected, he won't go after people like Letitia James.
No.
You know why? Because they're first of all, in his opinion, they're not worth his time, which he's right.
Yep.
And the other thing is that he's got other things to do, in my opinion, potentially nefarious, scary things that I don't want him to contemplate thinking about doing. And especially in the air, I don't like big government Republicans, and that's what he is.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to digress off into that, but that's why I vote Libertarian.
Yep. Well, let's see.
He's also a little bit daft, don't you think?
Who, Trump?
Yeah, he's a little bit crazy, but he's so high functioning it doesn't really hurt him.
The filter between the brain and his brain and his mouth doesn't function as well as it probably should.
It's broken. That's what
it's less of a floodgate and more of a spillway.
It's spillway, right? Whatever sloshes over the side.
That's a good metaphor. I like that.
That is a very good metaphor.
At least I'm amusing myself.
I'm using.
Yeah, let's see. We can't do that. Let's see. You don't want to hear about CERN at the moment. That's not good. We'll come back to that. So here's the thing. So you guys know about all of the fun times that happened during the big second internet boom, where they're bringing catered meals and all this stuff, and people were getting spoiled. Well, Zuckerberg becomes more and more a person I kind of like every day. Oh, shut up. Jesus Christ. There was a plan where they were able to get a $25 meal credit if they were working late from like Uber Eats and Grubhub and that sort of thing. And he caught a bunch of people abusing it. Like they didn't really want food or something, but they just have DoorDash like pick stuff up at the pharmacy and deliver it to the office. And they just abused the shit out of it. And it was a very generous thing. Hey, you're stuck at work, working late, keeping the company afloat, solving some problem. Because, we've been those guys, right, Skep? Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody would buy us, if the company would buy us dinner? And that's all it was. But Zuckerberg fired a bunch of them. He found out what kind of shit they were doing and fired a bunch of them.
Interesting.
Good.
Yeah.
I feel like Silicon Valley is growing up a little bit, and I like it.
Well, this is better than getting rid of it, because he had two options: either getting rid of that voucher perk, so that everyone's going to be miserable and keep those people on, or say, you know what? Well, if you're going to be this dishonest in this, what else can you possibly be? Goodbye.
Yeah.
Don't be an asshole.
Well, that's generally good advice, honestly. I think that's what that's generally a good rule. Don't be an asshole, or do.
Yeah.
Meta fires employees who abused its $25 Grubhub meal perk. Yeah. Grubhub credits are for employees working late at Meta's smaller offices, like the ones where they don't have a cafeteria or something that can take care of them later. It's a generous thing to do, and to cynically take somebody's generosity and decide to milk it, that's what ruins it for everybody else. And Sora's right. They could have just discontinued the program, but instead they fired some people, and good on them. Some staff used the credit to order wine glasses and other items. God damn it.
Really?
Yeah. People suck.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
Hmm.
Oh, let's see. Is there anything else here that's just sort of like small that we can get into? Let's see. Candy corn, microbursts, Trump. Oh yeah, I have this listed under cringe plus. I found a video from an acting class where these people are acting out a scene, and it's so deliciously cringy. I might be the only one who thinks this is funny, but I guess we'll find out.
John, I want a divorce.
Divorce.
It's not funny, John, and you know it's been coming for a long time.
Well, divorce.
Why do you...
It goes on for like 7 minutes.
Why are they without emotion? This is so terrifying.
This is like so weird. Let's go to the most replayed part.
Long day on the range. Hop Singh had not even started cooking dinner. I was mad. The boys weren't home.
You broke.
Boys were gonna be mad when they got home, and you know, Pa, he likes to feel responsible.
She's
And he
thinking about her
said,
life
"Hop Singh," he
choices.
said, Hop Singh, how come you don't even have
could be on
dinner
Broadway.
ready to be put on the table?
But I'm doing
And Hop
instead.
Singh said, you never ever thank me for making dinner. Well, Pa was flabbergasted. He thought about it and he was right. He never ever told Hop Singh.
I'm sorry, I just love this so much. It's so painful. It's so painful.
I love Shaggy Dog stories.
This stuff is so great, and I've also found this thing. It's from the VH1 archives called Hippie Temptation. It's a 1967 TV special.
I don't think we ever.
Well, that's an episode of Silk Stockings.
Testing, not a history of absence of symptoms.
Methylamide, LSD, or acid for short, possession of which has been declared illegal in California, but which is easily accessible here.
When he was
young. The hippies have declared the use of this and similar hallucinatory drugs to be the source of new and valuable insights.
They are very
A standard effect of LSD is to change the way the brain handles sensory input. The result is violent distortion of thought and feeling. The user...
Yeah. Dirty freaking hippies. You know, if I had that time machine, never mind. I love these old documentaries when they talk about drugs. It's like you said, Harry Reasoner talking about what LSD does. That's just seems like that's hard for me to wrap my head around.
That was great. That's a great piece of tape.
Yeah, it's got some good stuff in it.
While in the street below, a crowd of hippies celebrates the sunny day.
And then that balcony fell because of a building code violation, and everybody died.
Yay!
Yeah.
They all died happily ever after.
Yeah. It's a good thing they're all astral projecting, so they didn't notice. It's fine. You know, it almost looks fun when they see that there, but I still remember in the 70s, hippies just sort of show up and muck up the works. Like, oh, that was a nice park. Now it's full of dirty hippies. And I can't play there. I told you I had a dog in the 70s that hated hippies, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone's favorite dog.
He hated hippies. He would try to kill them. He would try to bite their face. He
Probably 'cause
really
they smelled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it that he knew that hippies were bad? That's what I want to know.
The scent of patchouli and feces.
Yeah. I don't like hippies. But I find that old video to be fun. I love these old documentary videos.
Oh yeah.
But I think that acting class thing is pretty tip top. I'm gonna go through that whole channel. I definitely have to. I like the cringe factor of it. Let's see. I can't show you that because I didn't set it up. I did this. I did this. Is there anything else that we have to talk about that we can't wait until later? I think that's good, honestly. We could talk about this, I suppose, at the end. Dominion Energy pairs solar with honeybees to preserve agricultural land. I don't know if you guys have noticed,
Like
but
the goats?
but yeah, it's like with the sheep earlier, where they were doing landscaping. Everybody's figured out that these solar panels take up all this room. It's like, well, what can we do on this land that we've now put all these solar panels on? I don't know. Sheep? Okay. How about bees? Bees.
Nice.
Yeah, why not
Good.
bees?
I love having bees near. We have an apiary that is just like a few hundred yards from our house, and we get the bees over here in the garden all the time. And man, our flowers like reproduce like crazy. They get pollinated really thoroughly and quickly early in spring. Yeah.
Yeah. And one more thing. New glass canopies at Market Street BART station now smashed in. And this is why we can't have nice things. They put up all of these glass canopies at the BART station in San Francisco, and it only takes one crazy person on LSD or who knows what to go in there and just bust it all up. Because society is rotting. It is sad.
Or just people who maliciously just want to hurt something, want to have an effect on something.
We really need to rethink how we deal with people who commit expensive acts of vandalism against public property. You know, whether it's the Campbell's soup, the tomato soup being thrown on the Mona Lisa, or whatever it is. All of this stuff we need to really ramp up we need to make it a teachable moment.
The people who damage priceless works of art, I think, should be publicly on television thrown into a wood chipper.
If you maliciously cause $40,000 worth of damage to a bunch of glass because you can, the punishment needs to fit the crime. And I
don't want those people in this world. I don't want a person who made that decision to be in this world.
We can make the carceral system big enough to accommodate everybody who seems to clearly want a place in it.
It's no fun if you can't kill your enemies.
Well, we talked about, actually, we had an idea last week that you missed out on, which was I made a modest proposal that anybody who intentionally stops a car, who isn't like a law enforcement person, like these eco-protesters or whatever, we get to treat them as if they're carjackers. Because we don't know if they are or they aren't.
Stomp on accelerator.
Stomp on the accelerator. Do whatever you got to do to defend yourself. But we should deem it as an attack threatening your life and well-being.
Yep.
And you should be able to respond accordingly. Sora was quite taken with the idea.
Oh, absolutely. I am too.
Yeah.
It might make me put, like blades on the front of my car.
So it's like Ben-Hur kind of thing.
Exactly.
Just go out in the SkepMobile, and they got the rotating blades on the hubs of all the tires. I like it.
Yeah.
No, but I'm actually, because if somebody stops your car, you don't know if it's a ruse. You honestly don't know. Anybody who lays down in a roadway needs to be treated way more aggressively, because otherwise we're just creating opportunities for much more serious criminals to get away with shit. And if it's your wife or daughter that gets kidnapped out of the back of your car at gunpoint, you're going to feel differently about it.
Right. Yeah. Damn right it is.
Yeah. So screw them. Well, this has been the Minions Law and Order hour, or 2 hours for Saturday. I'm dog tired. Is there anything that anybody wants to share before we go? Functional, Sora, Skep, anything?
No. Be good to yourself and each other.
Yeah. And come back again and see us sometime.
I'm Jerry Springer.
Can we extend the idea to cyclists? Well, yeah, if they're laying down in the middle of the road. gosh.
Well, people want speed bumps, right? To slow down traffic. There you go. You've just made some.
Yeah, it's fine.
They don't last.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Good night, everybody. Bye.